High Admiral Kethrix's talons clicked against the crystalline display panel of the Ixthul flagship's bridge, creating an eager rhythm that echoed through the chamber. The massive view screen before him pulsed with biological data streams, each line representing billions of cellular patterns from Earth's dominant species. His mandibles quivered with anticipation as he studied the readings for the 100th time. High Admiral, Senior Biologist Vextra approached, her iridescent carapace reflecting the soft blue glow of the surrounding monitors. The latest neural complexity scans have confirmed our initial findings. These humans are unlike anything we encountered in our 12 millennia of hunting. Kethrix turned all four of his eyes toward her, his interest evident in the way his antenna twitched forward. Explain. Their physical parameters are laughably weak. Vextra activated a holographic display between them, showing the three-dimensional image of a human male. No natural armor, no venom glands, no retractable claws. Their muscle density is below average for a species of their size, and their sensory capabilities are. She paused, mandibles clicking in what passed for amusement among the Ixthul. Primitive at best. Yet you seem excited, biologist, Kethrix observed, noting the rapid color changes rippling beneath her exoskeleton. Because of this, Vextra's taloned hand swept through the hologram, bringing up a new image. A complex network of neural pathways. Their brain structure is fascinating. The neural density and complexity are off our standard charts. The amount of energy their species dedicates to neural function is nearly triple what we'd expect for a prey species of their development level. Kethrix leaned forward, his hunting instincts stirring. Nutritional value. Exceptional. Vextra's voice took on a reverent tone. The complex neural proteins would provide mental enhancement effects lasting 3 standard cycles. One human would provide more cognitive boost than 5 Grekthar or 10 Vinsol. She paused, letting the implications sink in. And their population numbers in the billions. The High Admiral's carapace flushed with deep purple excitement. Across the bridge, other Ixthul officers noticed their leader's color change, their own shells beginning to ripple in response. The hunt fever was spreading. What of their technology? Kethrix demanded, already thinking of the glory this hunt would bring his fleet. Primitive space flight capabilities. Basic energy weapons. Nothing that could challenge our shields. Vextra brought up their defensive specifications. They're just beginning to explore their own solar system. Their most advanced weapons would barely scratch our secondary hull plating. Kethrix rose from his command pod, his full 3-meter height impressive even among his species. Have they encountered other spacefaring races? No, High Admiral. They are completely isolated. The perfect hunting ground. The High Admiral moved to the main view screen, watching as it shifted to show the blue-green planet that would soon become their newest hunting ground. Earth hung there, seemingly peaceful, unaware that it was being observed by the galaxy's most efficient predators. Prepare the fleet for jump, Kethrix commanded, his voice carrying the weight of 12,000 years of successful hunts. I want full hunting protocols. We'll begin with isolated population centers. As tradition demands, let them learn to fear us before we take their major cities. As his officers rushed to comply, Kethrix felt a satisfaction he hadn't experienced in centuries. This would be a hunt worthy of legend. A species with such neural complexity would provide not just sustenance, but the kind of mental enhancement that could advance Ixthul civilization by decades. Little did he know that the very neural complexity he coveted would prove to be his species' undoing. As the Ixthul fleet prepared for their quantum jump to Earth, they remained blissfully unaware that they weren't finding prey at all. They were awakening a predator that had been hiding in plain sight, wearing the mask of prey for millions of years. The hunt was about to begin, but not in the way the Ixthul imagined. The stars above Millbrook, Montana went dark on a warm Tuesday evening. Not the gentle darkening of clouds passing over the moon, but a sudden, complete extinction of light that made the townspeople look up from their evening activities with a collective shiver. Sheriff Dana Martins was the first to notice the silence. The crickets had stopped their endless summer symphony, and even the night birds had gone quiet. Standing in the parking lot of Lou's Diner, she watched as a shape emerged from the darkness above. A mass of crystalline black that seemed to swallow what little light remained. "Would you look at that?" Old Lou himself stepped out of his diner, wiping his hands on his apron. He didn't run. He didn't scream. Instead, he pulled out his phone and started recording. "Guess we're making history tonight." The Ixthal observation team aboard the scout ship monitored the initial reactions with growing confusion. Hunt leader Zekski's mandibles clicked in frustration as he watched more humans emerge from their dwellings, many with recording devices raised to the sky. "This is not the expected response pattern," he chittered to his team. "Where is the mass panic? The stampeding flight response?" Below, Sheriff Martinez had already called in the National Guard and was coordinating with local law enforcement to establish a perimeter. Years of disaster response training kicked in, even if this particular scenario hadn't been in any manual. The first Ixthal landing pod descended in the center of Main Street, its crystalline surface refracting the few remaining street lights. As the pod's doors spiraled open, 4 towering Ixthal warriors emerge, their iridescent carapaces gleaming with bioluminescent threat displays. "Now they will run," Zekski predicted confidently. Instead, a flash went off. "Could you all move a little to the left?" Tommy Chen, the local news photographer, called out. "The lighting's better there." The Ixthal warriors froze, their threat displays flickering in confusion. This was not how prey was supposed to behave. Their combat computers had no protocols for dealing with victims who wanted better photography angles. The situation deteriorated further when Dr. James Wilson, the town's veterinarian, stepped forward with his hands raised in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "Fascinating exoskeletal structure," he commented, his professional interest overwhelming his fear. "Looks like a cross between a mantid and a crystalline formation. I wonder what their molting cycle is like." Zekski had had enough. He raised his neural disruptor, the weapon humming with deadly energy. The time for observation was over. It was time to remind these creatures what it meant to be prey. The first shot went wide as a National Guard helicopter roared overhead, searchlight blazing. In the chaos that followed, the Ixthal discovered several uncomfortable truths about their perfect prey. Humans didn't just run away. They also ran toward danger, particularly if others needed help. When the neural disruptor blast hit Lou's Diner, 3 volunteer firefighters were already moving to evacuate the building before the echoes faded. They didn't just hide. They organized. Sheriff Martinez had her deputies setting up evacuation routes while simultaneously coordinating with military forces. The prey was creating strategy on the fly. Most disturbingly, they didn't just react. They adapted. When the second neural disruptor shot revealed the weapon's distinct energy signature, Dr. Wilson was already recording the pattern with modified scientific equipment, muttering about frequency analysis. As the night wore on, the Ixthal's carefully planned first contact evolved into something none of their historical records had prepared them for. Their prey was documenting them, studying them, and most worryingly, beginning to understand them. High above, on the bridge of his flagship, High Admiral Cathrix received the initial reports with growing unease. Something was wrong. The neural complexity they detected wasn't just an interesting dietary supplement. It was a warning sign they had completely misinterpreted. The hunt had begun, but the roles of hunter and prey were far less clear than anyone had expected. Dr. Amanda Hayes had never imagined her doctorate in predatory behavior studies would lead to her current situation. Sitting in a crystalline cell aboard an alien vessel, watching her captors through the transparent walls with the same intensity they watched her. Specimen shows unusual focus. The Ixthul observer notes echoed through the chamber's communication system. They hadn't bothered to disable it, assuming their language would be incomprehensible to their prey. Unfortunately for them, Dr. Hayes had already started recognizing pattern variations in their clicks and chirps. This one maintains consistent neural activity despite isolation, another voice noted. Previous specimens exhibited stress degradation by this phase. Amanda smiled slightly, continuing to scratch notes into the soft crystalline floor using a shard she'd carefully worked loose. The Ixthul had taken her tablet and phone, but they'd failed to recognize that their own building materials could be used as writing tools. Day 7. Estimated. Ixthul social structure shows clear hierarchical organization. Color changes in carapace appear to indicate rank. Deeper purple equals higher status. Fascinating integration of biological and technological systems. Senior biologist Vextra approached the cell, her iridescent shell shifting through shades of curious blue. Prepare the specimen for neural mapping. As two guards entered her cell, Amanda didn't resist. Instead, she observed their movement patterns, noting how their exoskeletons limited certain ranges of motion. Their strength was impressive, but their flexibility was constrained by their natural armor. "You're not going to sedate me this time?" she asked in perfect English, knowing they wouldn't understand the words, but wanting to document their reaction to direct communication. The guards paused, their antennae twitching in what she'd learned to recognize as surprise. They weren't used to prey that tried to engage with them. In the neural mapping chamber, Amanda remained alert as they connected her to their bioscanners. Each procedure was another opportunity to study their technology, their methods, and most importantly, their weaknesses. Neural pattern consistency remained stable, Vextra noted with growing interest. No sign of fear response despite awareness of imminent testing. What the Ixthul failed to understand was that for Amanda, this wasn't captivity. It was the most important field research of her career. Every moment spent in their presence was another data point, another piece of the puzzle. Day 12. Confirmed hypothesis about sensory processing. Ixthul rely heavily on electromagnetic reception. Their neural disruptors work on the same principle. Potential weakness. Overload of EM frequencies might disrupt both their weapons and natural sensing abilities. The breakthrough came during what the Ixthul called a preparation observation. They had brought in another human captive, expecting Amanda to show fear at witnessing their feeding process. Instead, she focused on the way their mandibles secreted digestive enzymes. Subject displays scientific interest rather than fear, Vextra reported, her tone carrying an edge of concern. This is the 5th observation session, where expected prey response patterns are absent. That night, as the ship's lighting dimmed to simulate night cycle, Amanda added to her mental database. Their entire society is built around the predator-prey dynamic. They don't just hunt for food. They need it for their cultural identity. This makes them dangerously predictable. What the Ixthul never realized was that while they were studying their perfect prey was studying them back. And unlike their rigid, hierarchical method of information processing, human analysis was creative, adaptive, and most importantly, innovative. When the rescue finally came, 3 weeks into her captivity, Amanda Hayes had compiled the most comprehensive study of Ixthul biology, technology, and psychology ever created. The information would become the foundation of humanity's defense strategy. But perhaps more importantly, she had proved what would become humanity's greatest weapon against the Ixthul: the ability to turn any situation, even captivity, into an opportunity to learn and adapt. The hunters had never imagined that their laboratory could become their enemy's greatest classroom. General Marcus Rodriguez stared at the holographic display in the underground bunker of Project Prometheus, watching as Dr. Amanda Hayes demonstrated the weakness she discovered in Ixthul neural disruptor technology. The captured alien weapon floated in a containment field, its crystalline structure pulsing with an eerie purple light. Their entire weapons system relies on electromagnetic frequency manipulation, she explained, her voice carrying the excitement of a scientist on the verge of a breakthrough. But here's the beautiful part. They never developed protection against electromagnetic feedback loops because no species they'd encountered had ever thought to use their own energy against them. Around the room, a mixed team of military personnel and civilian scientists watched as she activated a crude device cobbled together from modified police radio parts and salvaged alien technology. The neural disruptor's purple glow flickered and died. Simple high-frequency feedback, Amanda smiled. Like creating audio feedback with a microphone, but with their own energy signature. At a testing range 20 miles away, the first human counter-offensive was already taking shape. Former auto mechanic turned military engineer, Jake Sullivan, had been working with a team to modify standard military vehicles with electromagnetic pulse technology based on Dr. Hayes' findings. They're so used to being the apex predator that they never developed countermeasures, Jake explained to his team as they fitted a Humvee with the new defense system. Their tech is advanced, but it's like a shark that's never had to worry about its prey fighting back. They've got huge blind spots. The first real test came sooner than expected. An Ixful hunting party descended on what they thought was an easy target, a small military convoy moving between bases. Hunt leader Zexki led the attack personally, still smarting from the embarrassment of his first contact mission. His neural disruptor fired, the familiar purple beam lancing out toward the lead vehicle. Then something unprecedented happened. The beam hit an invisible wall of energy and rebounded, the feedback surge sending cascading failures through the Ixful weapon systems. Energy weapons ineffective, Zexki reported, mandibles clicking in distress. Prey has developed some form of shield technology. Impossible. They were primitive less than a lunar cycle ago. In the lead Humvee, Jake grinned as he watched the alien weapons fail. Not so primitive now, are we? But the real shock came when the humans counterattacked. Modified electromagnetic pulse weapons, based on the Ixful's own technology, but refined and repurposed, sent the alien warriors into spasming confusion as their sensory systems overloaded. Back at Project Prometheus, Dr. Hayes watched the after-action footage with satisfaction. Their greatest strength is their greatest weakness, she told General Rodriguez. Their biotechnology integration makes them incredibly efficient, but it also makes them vulnerable to the right kind of attack. Reports began flooding in from around the globe. In Japan, engineers had developed sonic weapons that exploited the resonant frequency of Ixful crystalline technology. Brazilian scientists had created a compound that could temporarily disrupt the color-changing properties of their carapaces, throwing their entire command structure into chaos. High Admiral Cathrix received the reports with growing horror. In just one planetary rotation, their prey had not only developed countermeasures to Ixful technology, but had begun creating weapons specifically designed to exploit weaknesses the Ixful hadn't even known they had. How is this possible? He demanded of his science team. Their neural patterns suggested intelligence, but this rate of adaptation is unprecedented. Vextra, watching new data stream in from failed hunting parties, finally understood their critical error. We misinterpreted the neural complexity scans, she admitted. We thought it meant they would be more satisfying to hunt. We never considered that it meant they could hunt us back. The adaptation phase was complete. Humanity had done what it had always done best, taken the tools of its would-be destroyers and turned them into weapons of its own. The hunt was about to enter a new phase, and for the first time in their history, the Ixful were about to learn what it meant to be prey. The Rocky Mountains loomed silent against the dawn sky as Captain Sarah Mitchell and her special operations team laid their trap. 6 hours of careful preparation had gone into this moment, every detail crafted using Dr. Hayes' intelligence on Ixthul hunting patterns. "They're drawn to movement and heat signatures," Sarah whispered into her tactical comm. "Just like Dr. Hayes said, these bastards can't resist a good chase." Below in the valley, a small group of civilians appeared to be making their way through the mountain pass, their thermal signatures bright against the cool morning air. To the Ixthul surveillance systems, it looked like perfect prey. Isolated, vulnerable, and far from any major military installation. Hunt leader Mexthor's team took the bait. Their crystalline drop pods descended from the low-hanging clouds, the morning sun catching their faceted surfaces in a display that would have been beautiful if it wasn't so deadly. "Target package is hot," Lieutenant Rodriguez confirmed from his position. "Reading 6 bogeys, standard hunting formation. Just like the intel predicted." Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The civilians below were actually heat signature drones, their movement patterns carefully programmed to mimic panicked humans. The real trap lay in the surrounding peaks, where her team had spent the night setting up electromagnetic pulse emitters disguised as natural rock formations. The Ixthul warriors emerged from their pods, their carapaces shifting through predatory color patterns. Mexthor raised his neural disruptor, expecting another easy hunt. That's when Sarah sprung the trap. "Execute Operation Echo," she commanded. "Light M up." The EMP emitters activated in a cascading sequence, each one triggering at a precisely calculated moment. The effect was instantaneous. The Ixthul's bio-integrated technology went haywire, their carapaces flickering through random color patterns as their sensory systems overloaded. By the first hunt, Mexthor stumbled, his mandibles clicking in distress. "What kind of prey does this?" "The kind that's tired of being hunted," Sarah answered, though she knew they couldn't understand her. She keyed her comm again. "Phase 2. Weapons free." Modified rail guns opened fire from concealed positions, their projectiles designed using Dr. Hayes' research to penetrate the specific crystalline structure of Ixthul armor. The aliens' advanced shields, calibrated to stop energy weapons, proved useless against good old-fashioned kinetic impact. 3 Ixthul warriors fell before they could return fire. A fourth managed to get off a shot with his neural disruptor, but the beam dissipated harmlessly against the humans' new electromagnetic shields. "Impossible," Mexthor broadcasted to his ship. "The prey has become the hunt." His transmission cut off as a rail gun round found its mark. In orbit, the Ixthul command vessel received the hunting party's final transmission. High Admiral Cathrix watched the tactical display with all 4 eyes wide in disbelief. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were hunting his warriors using the Ixthul's own tactics against them. "They'd studied us," Vextra realized, her voice carrying a note of horror. "While we were analyzing their neural patterns, they were learning our behaviors, our technologies, our weaknesses." Back in the mountains, Sarah's team moved through the battlefield, securing the area and collecting more alien technology for study. The civilian drones continued their programmed route, ready to lure in any other hunting parties foolish enough to take the bait. "Command, this is Shadow Lead," Sarah reported. "Operation Echo complete. 6 tangos down, 0 civilian casualties. Tell Dr. Hayes her pred-prey behavior model worked perfectly. These guys really can't help following their hunting instincts." As the sun rose fully over the mountains, the tables had well and truly turned. Humanity had done more than just adapt to survive. They'd learned to hunt the hunters. The Ixthul were about to discover that Earth's apparent weakness had been masking something far more dangerous. A species that had spent its entire evolution learning from its predators and was now ready to teach some lessons of its own. High Admiral Cathrix's command chamber had grown unnaturally quiet. The usually bustling neural network displays showed nothing but static where hunting party signals should have been. In the past 30 Earth rotations, 23 hunting parties had gone silent. The impossible had become reality. The hunters were dying. Another strike team lost in the region they call Siberia. Vextra reported, her carapace a sickly gray of distress. The humans used our own cloaking technology against the hunting party. They've somehow modified it to work with their primitive projectile weapons. Cathrix's mandibles clicked in agitation. How are they adapting so quickly? We've conquered 17 species across 12 star systems, and none have ever. A priority alert cut through his words. On the main display, footage from their latest hunting attempt in the Amazon rainforest played out. The Ixful warriors had deployed their most advanced sonic weapons, only to find the humans wearing crude but effective countermeasures the very next day. They're not just learning. Dr. Hayes's voice echoed through their communication system, having somehow hacked their supposedly unbreakable encryption. We're evolution's greatest success story. Every predator Earth has ever produced has failed to wipe us out, and we've taken something from each of them. You're just the latest to learn this lesson. In a hidden facility beneath the Nevada desert, Dr. Hayes watched multiple holographic displays showing Ixful ships and ground forces being systematically dismantled worldwide. Beside her, Jake Sullivan was installing the latest upgrades to their reverse-engineered alien tech. Their biggest mistake, Jake said, making final adjustments to a captured neural disruptor, was giving us time to study them. Every failed hunt gave us more data, more tech to salvage, more patterns to analyze. Captain Sarah Mitchell's voice crackled over the comm system. Doctor, the New York team just took down 3 of their dropships using the modified EMP burst you designed. Beijing reports similar success with the sonic pulse arrays. The Ixthal's rigid hierarchy was crumbling. Their warriors, used to fighting terrified prey, found themselves facing an enemy that anticipated their every move. Humanity had turned the entire planet into one giant trap, using the aliens' own predictable hunting patterns against them. They're adapting faster than we can deploy new weapons, an Ixful tactical officer reported, his color patterns showing pure terror. Every strategy we attempt is countered within days, sometimes hours. In Earth's orbit, Cathrix watched as another hunter ship went dark over the Indian Ocean. The humans had somehow developed a weapon that could target their ship's crystalline structure, shattering them from within using their own resonant frequencies. We don't just learn. Dr. Hayes's voice came through again, almost pitying. We teach every other human what we've learned. While your warriors die keeping their hunting secrets, our species shares knowledge, adapts, and grows stronger together. The nightmare for the Ixful wasn't just that they were losing. It was that their prey had become something their rigid, hierarchical minds couldn't comprehend. Humans weren't just fighting back. They were evolving their tactics in real time, using a combination of scientific analysis and pure innovation that made them unpredictable. Full retreat, Cathrix finally ordered, his pride shattered like his fleet's finest ships. All hunting parties returned to. But it was too late. Humanity had already learned to track their quantum signatures. There would be no easy escape from the prey that had become their nightmare. Dr. Hayes watched the panic spread through the Ixthal fleet with a scientist's detachment. "You should have studied us more carefully," she murmured. "Humans don't just survive predators. We replace them." The hunt had become a rout, and the galaxy's apex predators were about to learn what true terror felt like. Dr. Amanda Hayes stood on the bridge of the U.S. Nemesis, Earth's first warship built with hybridized human Ixthal technology. Through the advanced quantum imaging system, she watched the desperate retreat of the once mighty alien fleet. Their crystalline ships, previously so intimidating, now looked like wounded animals fleeing from a superior predator. "They're taking the exact escape vector I predicted," she noted to Admiral Chen. "Their hierarchical nature makes them incapable of true tactical innovation. They're following ancient flight protocols even now." The Admiral nodded, looking at the holographic battle display where red dots representing Ixful ships were being systematically cut off from their escape routes. "How long did you say you were their prisoner, Doctor?" 3 weeks, Amanda smiled. "Long enough to learn that the galaxy's greatest predators never evolved past their basic programming. They're still running on instinct while we've learned to think beyond it." In his command chamber, High Admiral Cathrix watched his fleet's formation crumble. The humans had somehow modified their quantum drive signatures to appear like natural space phenomena, making them nearly invisible until they struck. His warriors, the pride of 17 conquered systems, were being hunted down with terrifying precision. "Impossible," he chittered, his carapace cycling through colors of fear and rage. "We are the apex predators of the galaxy. We cannot be hunted." Dr. Hayes's voice cut through their communications again. "That's your problem, Admiral. You think in absolutes. Predator or prey. Hunter or hunted. Humans, we learned to be both. And neither." The Nemesis's engines pulsed with a new form of energy, one that combined human ingenuity with salvaged Ixful technology. Jake Sullivan's engineering team had outdone themselves, creating drives that could match and exceed the alien vessel's speed while maintaining their stealth capabilities. Captain Sarah Mitchell's strike teams had been deployed throughout the solar system, using automated drones and modified Ixful hunting pods to herd the retreating aliens right where they wanted them. It was a hunting technique as old as humanity, the same one their ancestors had used to hunt animals far stronger than themselves. Multiple Ixful vessels attempting to make a quantum jump, a tactical officer reported. Their formation matches historical records of their standard escape protocols. Amanda nodded. "Of course it does. They can't help themselves. Launch the quantum disruptors." The new weapons, developed from her understanding of Ixful biotechnology, fired with surgical precision. The aliens' quantum drives failed, their ships suddenly trapped in normal space like insects in amber. "Your greatest weakness," Amanda broadcast to the stranded fleet, "isn't your technology or your biology. It's your inability to understand that true strength lies in adaptation, not perfection." Cathrix watched in horror as human ships emerged from stealth, surrounding his fleet in a perfect hunting formation, one that mirrored ancient Ixful tactics. "You've studied our historical battle records," he realized. "We studied everything about you," Amanda replied. "While you were seeing us as just another prey species, we were learning every detail of your evolution, your society, your psychology. Humans don't just fight predators, Admiral. We learn from them, adapt their strengths, and eliminate their weaknesses." The final battle was swift and decisive. The Ixful ships, their weapons and shields based on static patterns, developed over millennia, proved no match for humanity's hybrid technology that evolved and adapted even during combat. As the last Ixful vessel was disabled, Amanda felt no triumph, only a scientist's satisfaction at a proven hypothesis. Humanity never evolved to be the strongest, fastest, or most powerful species. She broadcast to the defeated fleet. "We evolved to be the most adaptable. And that makes us the most dangerous of all." The hunt was over. The prey had become the predator. But more than that, they had become something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that could be both or neither, as circumstances required. 1 year after the final battle, the Great Hall of the former Ixful High Command had been transformed, where once only the most elite hunters had gathered to plan their conquests. Now a mixed council of humans and Ixful sat together, their meeting broadcast across 17 star systems. Dr. Amanda Hayes stood before the assembly, her presence a living testament to how much had changed. Beside her, High Admiral Cathrix's carapace showed colors that no Ixful had ever displayed before, the complex patterns of uncertainty and hope. The integration program has exceeded all expectations, Amanda addressed the council. Former hunting fleets have been successfully repurposed as exploration vessels. The Ixthol's natural tracking abilities, combined with human innovation, have led to the discovery of 12 new habitable worlds in just the past month. Kethrix's mandibles clicked in what had become his version of a thoughtful nod. We had spent millennia perfecting the art of hunting, he admitted, never realizing that our greatest potential lay in discovery rather than conquest. The changes hadn't been easy. The younger Ixthol had adapted more quickly, their carapaces often showing the new color patterns that indicated curiosity and wonder rather than the traditional hunting displays. The elders had resisted at first, until they witnessed the results of the first joint exploration missions. Captain Sarah Mitchell, now commander of a mixed human Ixthol crew, shared footage from their latest expedition. The combination of Ixthol sensory capabilities and human problem-solving has made us the most effective exploration team in known space, she reported. We're not just finding new worlds, we're understanding them in ways neither species could have achieved alone. Jake Sullivan's engineering corps had continued to push the boundaries of what was possible. The integration of human innovation with Ixthol biotechnology had created ships that could navigate the quantum realm with unprecedented precision. Turns out, he explained, when you stop trying to be the perfect predator, you can become something even better. But perhaps the most profound change was visible in the Ixthol young. In the research centers that had replaced the hunting academies, human and Ixthol children learned together. The aliens' natural instincts, once channeled purely into hunting, now found expression in scientific pursuit and exploration. We were wrong about humans, Vextra addressed the council, her once fearsome research chamber now a center for collaborative scientific study. We thought their neural complexity would make them perfect prey. Instead, it made them the perfect teachers. Amanda stepped forward again, her expression both stern and hopeful. The lesson of Earth wasn't just that the hunted can become the hunter, she said. It was that true evolution means moving beyond such simple divisions. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't our ability to fight back. It was our ability to imagine something better. The council chamber's displays showed images from across the former Ixthol Empire. Joint research teams discovering new phenomena, mixed crews charting unknown regions of space, and former hunting grounds transformed into sanctuaries for developing species. We could have destroyed you, Amanda concluded, looking at Kethrix, but that would have made us just another predator. Instead, we chose to show you a different path. One where the drive to hunt becomes the drive to explore, and where ancient enemies can become something neither species could have imagined. True partners in discovery. As the council session ended, Amanda watched the sunset through the hall's crystalline windows. The light caught the new growth patterns in the living architecture, where once weapons had been transformed into works of art. The galaxy had expected Earth to fall to the greatest predators in known space. Instead, humanity had done what it had always done best, taken the forces that threatened to destroy it and transformed them into tools for building something greater. The hunt was over. The age of discovery had begun.